Mother Teresa said, loneliness and the feeling of being unwanted is the most terrible poverty. We've all felt loneliness somewhere down the line. When you feel lonely, there's actually no greater pain. When you think about it, that's why she says it. On the flip side, when you feel connected, when you feel you're around a group of people who love you, know you, and you know them and love them, it's like everything in you fires. It's like, I was made for this. Loneliness, it's bad when you're on your own and lonely, but it's so much worse when you're around people and lonely. And the magnifying glass of loneliness, it gets stuck onto us. The pain gets excruciating when it's in our deepest relationships, marriage. So I do a fair amount of marriage counseling, and there's kind of a standard operating procedure for people when they come to marriage counseling. You've got to understand, by the time they get there, they are in so much pain, so that they feel like you are going to dive into the deepest parts of me and pull it all out. So getting to the marriage counselor's door is difficult. It's like going to the dentist and the proctologist and another ist all in one sentence. It is scary. So by the time they get there, he sits down, arms crossed, legs crossed, fuming. She sits down next to him, and she pulls out the book with the list of everything she wants me to change about her husband. Now, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to let her, in last week's language, play the victim. I'm not going to be the rescuer because the rescuer doesn't actually serve her, and I don't believe that he's a bad guy. I think they just need some help. But I'll start off the conversation by going, so, how can I help you? And she'll start down the list, and he'll get redder and redder and redder, and he might actually have a go at her. And after a while, after they've had a good go at each other, we'll get into conversation. And I'll say to them, what is the goal of your marriage? And as we start that conversation, she'll say something like, to raise the kids. And they'll come up with some financial goals and some lifestyle goals. And I'll go, no. I want you to understand what I'm seeing is your goal of your marriage. It may not be the goal of your marriage, but this is what I'm seeing. And I give this illustration. I grew up on a game farm. And on our game farm, we would often have snakes come into our house. Now, when we would have spitting cobras come into the house, you took that seriously. Spitting cobra is very dangerous. And what you got to know about a spitting cobra is, 1, it can spit at you, 2, it can bite you, 3, it can run away. Running away is a problem because then it lands up in the toilet a little bit later. That's a problem. So what you have to do is you have to create safe distance as you engage with this cobra. So what you need for that is you need some form of glasses so that the spit doesn't go in your eye. You need a stick with some sort of V on the end so that you can hold it down, and you need to engage because if it disappears, you're in trouble. What you're doing is protecting yourself with safe distance. Protecting yourself by creating safe distance. Then I say, and what I'm seeing in your marriage is 2 people protecting themselves by creating safe distance. Because you know you come too close, something's going to explode. There's going to be an emotional grenade and it's going to hurt both of you. So you keep this distance, you keep managing it. Now, my guess is that you want some help. And then they start talking, and I say to them, so what is the goal of your marriage? And I keep asking the question until they get to this statement: a loving, caring, intimate connection. Somewhere down the line, they get to that place where they go, I don't just want to like you. I don't just want to be happy. I want a loving, intimate connection. See, those words, connection, in relationship, it's the whole point. It's not just for marriage, it's for every single one of our relationships. That's why Jesus said in John 17, he said, I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word. So he's talking about the disciples. Don't ask for them only, but also for us, for those who believe in me through what they say, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent them. This is how God designed us to live, connected. Connection is when I'm known and I know you. When I'm loved and I love you. When that's firing, you operate at your best. Your brain's fire. Every part of you is made for that, designed to be optimum in that space. It's what we all long for. And here's what Jesus says. When you guys get it right, the world will look and go, Jesus is alive. He is so convinced that the world longs for this because he knows the psyche of humanity, that if they see us getting it right the way he gets it right with his disciples, people go, I need what they have. Now, everybody knows that you can't have the same kind of connection that you have with your wife, with your boss, unless your wife is your boss, and that's another sermon. But here's the thing about connection. Jesus had different levels of connection. He had the 3, he had the 12, he had the 72, and then we can kind of guess that he had another 500. Jesus had different levels of intimacy in his different relationships, and you're going to have that too. You're going to have professional connection in your workspaces, and you're going to have social connection with your friendship groups, and in church you're going to have a community connection, and with your kids you're going to have a family connection, and then with your spouse, or if you're single, with a parent or a best friend, you're going to have a way more intimate connection. Then with God you have the deepest connection. You're going to have different levels of connection, but we have to seek connection. You see, the principle is this. You either are driven by love or you're driven by fear. If you're driven by fear, you will, out of the desire to protect yourself, you will constantly keep and create safe distance. You'll be managing that your whole life. You'll be avoiding people. You'll be withholding. You'll be walking across the road when someone walks past that you're scared of. You'll keep creating safe distance. You use anger, you use all kinds of things to keep people at bay. But if love is your motivator, if you do what Jesus commands us to do, love one another, then what will start to happen is you will consistently build connection. Now people often hear that and they go, okay, but how do I do that? And there was a guy by the name of Gary Chapman. He wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. It took me a while to believe in the 5 love languages because I used to say to my wife, where do you see that in the Bible? Well, the truth is you see it everywhere. It's in the back end of every single epistle. That each person receives love in a different way. And so he talks about these 5 love languages. He talks about affection, acts of service, gifts, words of affirmation, quality time. And I want to kind of break them down a little bit. The affection people. Touch people. Let me explain this using an animal. I have a puppy at home. And when I get home, this puppy sprints around, making kids fly and chairs get knocked over and destroys clothes and all kinds of things until I grab the puppy and hold and give my little puppy affection. My wife's a bit like that. I, on the other hand, I'm like a cat. You get to touch me when it suits me. And just don't touch me when I don't want to be touched. But my wife, if I hold her, I can see her anxiety levels dropping and she feels loved and she feels connected. It goes in. That's affection people. Then you get acts of service. I'm an acts of service person. If I go home and everything's in a mess, my anxiety is just going off the charts. But when people start to pick stuff up and look after stuff and the bag moves to there and they start helping me, I can feel it just going down. I feel loved. When someone brings me a cup of coffee, I feel, it goes in. Then there's gifts people. So early on in my marriage, my wife would buy me lots of gifts. She's a gifts person. And I'm not a gifts person, and what would happen is she would buy me stuff that I didn't need. And so I would take it back to the store. Because I'm stupid. But the result of that was that she felt really hurt because she was trying to give me something that expressed her heart towards me. See, this is the thing about gifts people. When you buy them something, they're expensive people, don't get this wrong, but when you buy something that says to them, I know you, I've been thinking about you, and I'm going to invest in you. They feel loved. So in the beginning, I bought my wife things like running shoes. Not so good. But nowadays, now that I've grown, I come down to PE, and I think about it. I go, I'm not going to buy her one bouquet of flowers, but 2 bouquets of flowers, not roses. I'm going to buy her wildflowers. And then I go onto a Pinterest board to see what she's pinned, to design cards based on the stuff she's pinned to say, I love you, and jackpot. Brownie points, deep love. That's gifts. Then you get words of affirmation people. And you'll know that you're a words of affirmation person if everything's going badly around you and someone walks up to you and they give you a heartfelt. So not just the words, but actually their whole face says it and their body language says it. And they express in words that you are great and you're doing a good job. Everything can be going madly wrong around you and you just switch on like a light bulb. You are words of affirmation. Conversely, if you walk into an environment where everybody's sarcastic and they're having a go at each other and they're using their words carelessly, you feel like you've walked into an environment with swords just flying and people are getting cut up and you are terrified. You feel your anxiety going up because words get deep into your heart. Lastly, there's the quality time person. So I'm a quality time person, and if you, all you have to do is go surfing with me. And I feel loved. You don't have to talk to me. You just come do something that I love doing with me. Here's how quality time people think. They think that if you are interested or if you are able to give energy to the thing that I'm interested in or the thing that I'm loved, because we're attached to the things we're interested in. We're attached to the things we love. So when you invest in those things, we feel like you're investing in us. And we feel loved. Conversely, if you kind of just, oh, that's nice, and you get on with your life, if you don't get engaged and involved in the things that we love and we're passionate about, we don't feel loved, and our anxiety goes up in the relationship. Now, these 5 love languages, what they do for you is they empower you, especially when you're feeling fear. And it's coming in and you're feeling that desire to protect myself. They empower you. They give you tools to go, no, I'm not going to let fear control my life. I'm going to choose love. And just like Jesus said, he says, love one another. I'm going to choose that love and I'm going to use these tools. I'm going to find out what their love language is. And then I'm going to invest in them in that love language to build connection. That's how you make relationships thrive.